Social Cafe. Put a pin in that because there's another business that's being absolutely murdered right now, and they're not this bar. We're going to get to that end of this here in a second because some of you need to dial it, and I mean all the way goddamn down. We'll get there. We're not there yet. This does kind of feel like one of those things that sounds worse in print than it may have had he been saying. Come on, I'm asking for this. 2 and 2 equals 4. You know that. Sounds a little different than the way this reads. Now, you're not judged in the moment now. You're judged by who you were leading up to the moment. And by talking to some people I know, because I know plenty of people who know this guy. Plenty of people who know this guy. I know plenty of people who have worked out to the bar owner. And you would, and I would too. And that's exactly what I told my girlfriend last night. Local, little heated for sure. If this is Florida, you're asking me why we're talking about this. It's just true. It would just be another in a long line of, yeah, man, some bosses are dicks. Like, it wouldn't be like, oh my God. It's, oh my God, because it's happening here, and I understand. And I would too. And I feel like he kind of kept it in line. He said, we have a problem. You should probably call and explain yourself before I post these messages of you being a total jerk, or dick, he says, to my 17-year-old daughter. Let me know how telling me to go F myself works, because apparently that was one of the first. I don't see that in this screenshot, but I'm guessing he started to snap these after that interaction. Bar owner responds, how about this? Go F yourself ×2. Don't you have a roofing business? You're soft. The father responds, thanks, I appreciate it. Must be the difference of having employees that respect you versus hate you. And I'm sure he's a little bit right. I'm sure he's a little bit right. I don't want anybody talking to my daughter that. And I would prefer that nobody talks to your daughter. Again, if this was Florida, you're asking me why I'm talking about this. It's Uniontown, so it matters. And I'm not arguing that. It does. It does. And you should not talk to your employees this way. I always, if a football coach talked down to a 17-year-old linebacker like this, we're telling the kid to suck it up. That's playing on a team versus getting paid to work for him. The requirement of the social media thing, I think, is one of his biggest problems. And trust me, that's how I'm going to end this segment here in a minute. But when I first got in the radio business, not 17, fair enough, I've been choked by a program director. I've been screamed at, called dirty names in front of entire staffs. They would dress you down. They beat you down to build you back up. So sometimes, if I'm honest, I look at situations like this and I go, thing to bring scrambled eggs to somebody's table. I don't know even what this business does. I've been in a few of his establishments, not this one. Beyond that, absolutely nobody who works for my company now would treat me the way that the way I was being treated early on. Now there's a whole nother subject. So business owner, you got over about 7,000 shares on this. Our bartenders were, nah. You'd rather cheap out like that.
Kind of funny you can listen to rambling, incoherent response. Were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought? The Stan Sperry Show. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. On Rock 1069.
So, I feel like social is a word that's come out of my mouth only 10,000 times. Where a local restaurant owner, the Sunrise Social Cafe, I believe is what it was social media posts. He's trying to use them to advertise. Which as an advertiser, apparently, man, that Facebook advertising ain't everything is supposed to be cracked up to be, huh? Yeah, imagine that. I'll tell you, 2 months ago, I had a client tell me they had to take the ads off the air because they couldn't handle the influx of customers. That one's just for me. Sorry. So, like, this guy kind of had a little bit of an issue with this, and one of his female staff members, young girl, 17 years old, young lady, wanted to clarify. She goes, look, my account's private, but I do share this stuff, but I'm wondering if you're not seeing it because my account's private. And I don't want you to took a real issue. He was like, Dan. She was like, Dan, like he's clearly talking down to her. I said, yeah, for sure he is. Absolutely. I said, but watch this. Come on, 2 + 2 = 4. We know that. I was like, it doesn't sound as bad as it reads. It kind of reminds me of that. I kind of talk about that where in print, it's like, oof. And you got to remember that because this is what's going to happen. People are going to screenshot. Now, his original post, the bar owner, a little crazy. I mean, dude, he said, if you have a learning disability, let me and I'll excuse you. It's like, that's not, he put that in parentheses because he knew, he's like, all right, I'm getting a little carried away here. I have met this person briefly. I don't think he'd remember me, and I'm not sure I could pick him out of a lineup, but I know we've been introduced. I know people who know him, and so my phone was going off yesterday. And I started reaching out to people, and they said, look, man, this is one of those situations you're always talking about. People are going to jump up and down on this dude, not because of this one particular situation. There is a pattern of behavior here, I would. Right? The guy owns more than a couple of establishments. It's Friday. I'm just going to bet that bar in Portage Lakes is packed to the rafters tonight. I'll just guess. I could be wrong. Right? So people have now taken it upon themselves to try to make sure this guy gets his comeuppance. And I can't even argue why people would feel that way. Of course. You have teenagers. You don't want people talking to teenagers this way, and neither do I. I did say a couple of times that people are upset with me about it. If this were Oklahoma and I'm telling you this guy said this to this 17-year-old, you're like, and? That's what you would say. Uniontown, it's like, big story, we gotta talk about it. Tallahassee, you're like, and? Like, that's really, because people are like, oh my God, he told that dad to go F himself. Okay, so let's say it differently. One grown man told another grown man to go F himself. Oh, you mean every traffic instance ever? You mean that? I mean, it's bad. It's not good. It's not what you should do. But I saw a lot of, like, I don't want to call it overreaction, but it was like, man, like, people are really going overboard here. Right? I don't want anybody talking to a 17-year-old young lady like this. And I said, if it was Jen's daughter, oh man, is this guy going to have a handful to deal with me? For sure. Absolutely. Probably you too. It's what most of you said. You talk to my daughter like that, we're going to have problems. Yeah. For sure. Absolutely. You know who else has problems because of this right now, though? It's not this business owner. It's another business owner in Canton who's paying for these sins now. What do you mean? Here's what I mean. There's another restaurant in town called the Sunrise Cafe. The business in question, I believe, is called the Sunrise Social Club. I believe that's the name of that establishment. But there's a Sunrise Cafe here. And what do you think's happening to them now? Yep, being review bombed. Terrible, awful, your owners are terrible, treat your people better, you're terrible, you're awful. Being review bombed. But the problem is, it's not that restaurant. Which I told you a year ago. I don't care about online reviews anymore. I don't. Most people only go to the internet to talk about what they hate, not what they like. I told my buddy Jay this about 5 years ago. He goes, dude, the internet's killing the new Call of Duty update. I was like, no way. The internet's unhappy about something? No way. Oh my God. Fans of the thing are the ones that are talking the most trash about the thing they're going to spend the money on anyway? No way. I don't believe you. I don't care about online reviews anymore. Very rarely. I care about them a little bit in Amazon, like products where it's like, all right, here's a product with a video. I may watch that. But like a Yelp review, I don't even give a damn. I don't care. Because 90% of it is going to be wrong, inaccurate, or you just were having a day and so you took it out on the business owner. So now this poor business has to come out and say this. As there are multiple people getting mixed up and giving us the bad reviews, it has to be said, we are not in any way affiliated with Sunrise Social or the other businesses or James the owner. It seems as if they have temporarily removed their Facebook accounts to avoid getting more comments and reviews. Ironically, was looking for more Facebook traction, got more than they can handle now. That's just me interjecting that. This post continues. Please share this with everybody you know to help us avoid any mix-ups and everything that's going on there from affecting our business that we have worked so hard to grow over these last few years. I feel terrible for them. So the one that's getting all of the negative reviews that doesn't deserve it, I'm trying to pull up their about section here because I want to make sure people can know this because I'd like to help them now. They're at 3020 Harrisburg Road Northeast. And that's, if I get out of here early enough, where I plan on having lunch today. I wouldn't have. I would have went home and had my chicken breast and Brussels sprouts like I do every day for lunch. But because this is happening now, and because they're going to be negatively affected and their servers are going to be negatively affected over people's insatiable desire to go online and just with the vitriol, that we don't even take the time to make sure. Look at how powerful socials can be if we actually take the time and put the energy and effort where it's supposed to go. Then all of a sudden it's a completely different thing. But you're out here trying to do good, and what do I always say? In your rush to look like one of the good ones, sure enough, you ended up being one of the bad ones.
You're never too old for a good morning kiss. The Stansberry Show, Rock 106.9.
Welcome back to the Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9. I wanted to look ahead in the log as I heard that piece of imaging. You're never too old for a good morning kiss. I normally play that before giving you a kiss song as I walk out on Fridays. I knew I'd put it in. I forgot which one I picked. I'm looking forward to that. We'll do that. What we have been talking about is there was a altercation in written form between a bar owner and a 17-year-old employee, young lady. And to her credit, man, she was trying to clarify. The guy was saying, hey, not enough people are sharing, liking, or commenting on our social posts. Now, why is that a big deal? Well, it proves what I'm always talking about. It's all engagement is how something goes viral on social media. There's a reason why you all saw this on social media yesterday or the day before, is because of how many people were commenting on it. That's how it ended up showing up in your feed. Because the algorithm goes, oh, okay, this is hot, here it goes. And so that's what bar owners and business owners are figuring out, the algorithms, and so they're trying to manipulate them. And I understand it, and I would want my staff helping me promote as well. I would. I think requirements are going to get you into some weird territory, because then does that suggest you could not hire somebody if they didn't have it? My guess would be no there. And so we were talking about it a little bit. The dad obviously reached out to the bar owner, was like, yo, man, I don't know if I love how you're talking to my daughter here. I'm paraphrasing a touch. And he said, well, we may have a problem with this, man. You might want to explain yourself. And the guy told him to go F himself. And he's like, be careful. I'm going to screenshot this. I'm going to post it, which is what ended up happening. And the bar owner doubled down and said, how about go F yourself times 2? X2 is what it was. Oof, man. I don't know if that's the way I would have gone. People threaten to, when they write in here and they'll say awful things to me, and then I respond and kind of like, I'm going to post this. And I'm like, I'll beat you to it. Want me to do it? And the moment I threaten to post it, then they're all like, okay, fair enough. they normally back down. That's a different situation. I think what we're dealing with here, and why there's this much of an outcry about it, is not necessarily this situation. I think it's about who you were leading up to the situation. Plenty of you are writing in here to tell me stories about this person, these establishments, and the like. I'll be careful, as I do not know everything I'm being told is true. But this is not the first time I've heard of this. And having been a bar owner and having worked in this industry for over 20 years and having dealt with plenty of not only bar owners but business owners, like the good business partners I have, they'll tell you one of the first things I will tell them inside of a half hour at that meeting is, I can tell you know what you're doing and I'm happy to be doing this. You're smart, you get it. And then I normally say, you wouldn't believe how many business owners I've met in my life where I'm like, what an idiot. Like, you wouldn't believe, because it's a lot, right? It is a lot. And that's why I actually am in a very good situation with iHeart, man. They go out of their way to partner me with people that I can feel comfortable about being partnered with. Now, I said something about that while I was talking about this. I was kind of on the bar owner, like, dude, quit cheaping out and give us the money. Advertise properly, and then you don't have this issue. And I just threw out a number, 35 to 5 grand, right, per month, and then you could have this problem fixed. I was basing that off a number I saw a long time ago. The truth is, my company doesn't necessarily want me to know everything they charge for everything, because then I'm sitting around in my house all day going, wait, they're paying you X, they're paying you X, they're paying you X, they're paying you X. And like, that doesn't even, I'm not even making 15% of that? Like, what? They don't want me doing it. Right? So like, normally when somebody's like, how much does it cost to advertise? They're like, send them to sales. We don't want you to know. So somebody thought I said 35 to 40 per month. No, if anybody Dan thought that's what he heard. No. I want to make sure people don't think it's that much, because it is not. It is not. There has been an update to this. The owner has responded. The screenshots I've been sent so far are blurry, and I can't totally read that out. I can't make out everything that's in that post. I'll try to find a better version of it. It's just been sent to me about 3-4 times now. I'm sure if I look online, I can find it, and we may get back into this a little bit later in the program. But I did want to clear those few things up. And again, there's another restaurant here in Canton that's dealing with the fallout of this, because apparently the actual establishment yanked their social media down, ironically. Was looking for social media traction, got more than they can handle now, and ended up, from what I understand, it's been pulled down temporarily. And so there's another business that is like a, I guess, breakfast, lunch, diner type place, Sunrise Cafe, on Harrisburg, and they're out there on their Facebook going, this isn't us, man. Like, you got to stop with this. And so a lot of people have said, I feel bad for the workers at both of these establishments. Like, even the one who's guilty, because it's like, dude, they didn't do anything, and now they're going, you know what I mean? Probably going to have their checks affected. They're probably going to have that affected, and there's probably going to be a lot of that. And it's like, yeah, man, usually it's the workers who are the casualties of what your employers do. Like, if my CEO makes a bad decision, he don't get fired, but I might, right? Like, you know what I mean? And that's not about iHeart. That's about Welcome to Companies, right? That's not about this at all. I mean, as a matter of fact, this company's done everything they can to keep me in what is considered to be small market radio for 10 years. My 10-year anniversary is in June. Most towns a size like this that are this close to the other bigger market that you can hear clear as day aren't wasting money on a guy like me for you. Not a lot of them are. This company does that for me. So I'm not out here trying to knock them, right? That's not what I'm doing. I actually feel like that's a good thing for both you and me. You and I. That's the way it's proper English there. But I feel bad for that other business that's kind of dealing with this, because again, it's not a chain. It's not a chain that can bounce back. Like, you can literally negatively affect a local business like this. So the Sunrise Cafe that's not in trouble, if I can get it out of here early enough today, I normally don't on Fridays, but I'm going to try to make an effort to get out of here to go and have a meal with them. Because I feel like they could use that today, and I feel like that's what a lot of us should be doing. And I feel like, you know what? Everybody that commented on their post without finding out whether or not it was them first, but just had to get that vitriol out them goddamn fingers, I better see you in their restaurant this afternoon.
To all the teachers who said he'd never amount to anything. That is correct.
I say it all the time, but dude, I love this audience, man. I love you guys. We got to give credit to Dwayne and Ashtabula here, as he's like, I'm going to correct you correcting yourself. I was like, okay. He goes, you said you and me, and then corrected yourself, and then said, I meant to say you and I. He's like, but you were actually right the first time in that scenario. It's you and me. All right. Fair enough. We can trust Dwayne. Pretty smart, that guy. Engineer and the like. So we'll thank him for that. I appreciate that one, buddy. Yeah, I was trying to correct myself, and apparently I made it worse. Fooled me 3 times, buddy. Mission accomplished. Drop the banner. Right? A little W out of me there, and I apologize on a Friday. We have been talking about the controversy surrounding Sunrise Social Cafe after a social media post. Actually, it wasn't even a post. It was some like messages, I believe, between he and his staff that got posted. And he dressed down this 17-year-old staff member, and it wasn't great. And then the dad reached out to the bar owner, and the bar owner told him to go F himself. And, and now we got screenshots all over the place, and we were kind of talking about that. And another business has been in the crosshairs of this. They have a similar name. And so I said, I believe the bar owner pulled their socials down. And Heather had reminded me, she goes, well, that could have been what happened. She goes, but I'm actually going to bet that Facebook pulled the bar's page down. They will often do that when they start to see a lot of negative activity. Now, I'll expand on Heather's point. That's her guess, and I don't think it's a terrible guess, but I'll expand here and say I wonder if the social companies don't do that out of fear if something negatively happens to a business. They go, well, why did you leave this up? You're inciting a riot. Technically, you could see all this anger and vitriol. Let's make sure you're owning your side of the street. You could bet your ass if it was Elon, that's what they would be saying. So, like, I think she might be right about that a little bit. And we had been kind of talking about that, throughout the morning. And Randy brought up an interesting point here. And he's not on me, but he's pointing out the fact that I will talk about the negativity end of Facebook quite a bit. And again, he's like, yo, man, listen, like 5-6 years, I love you, all this stuff. So he's not on me. But he's not wrong either that I kind of tend to kind of harp on this is like the get off my lawn stuff out of me, right? Like it's all bad, right? And I can get a little like that. And he says, in a way, social media, one of the good things it's doing right now is bringing bad bosses out in the open. So a similar thing just happened at another shop that he knows with I guess it was a bakery owner. And apparently that business owner, according to this text I got at 330-450-7625, that business owner had been making fun of a special needs person from the area. And then things all of a sudden then started to spiral because of it, went viral, and social media is blowing her up now. And Randy's pointing out, he's like, that is well deserved for that bar owner, but it probably would have never been discovered without social media. So, and again, I'll add this to Randy's point, that as a guy who talks about the negativity, maybe too often that comes with it, I maybe don't often enough highlight some of the positive things that can come out of it, right? Decided to change my statement there in the middle. I apologize. Just making mistakes all over the damn place this morning. Welcome to Friday. You're not wrong. You know, that a lot of positive things can come out of Facebook. You know, one of the reasons why I maybe don't focus on that? This may be a personality thing. You know, I told you a story once, and I've told it many times, that a program director, once upon a time, choked me in the studio for missing an EAS test. True story. One of the morning show guys, Tom was his name, was in the studio and said, ironically, let him go, he can't breathe. Right? That ended up being a big thing and a serious issue. But like, it literally, but the guy had me around the throat. I literally was like trying to breathe over missing an EAS test. I think one of the reasons why I don't focus on this being positive is, even after that moment, if you were to give me the ability to go online and talk, I don't think I'm the person who does it. And I'm not saying that as if I'm better and you shouldn't. That's not what I'm saying. I'm actually saying, no, maybe I should have been the kind of person who was like, instead of just accepting this behavior so I can end up doing what I want to do for a living, maybe I should have stood up for me. And maybe a few other people that had been in that establishment. Now, I've said this and I want to say it again. Absolutely no one I work with now would ever treat me that way. As a matter of fact, I had dinner with one of my program directors not that long ago. His name is Rob Anthony, and I love Rob. I would literally walk into the gates of hell to follow Rob. I love him. And we were having dinner, and he was asking me about my run, and he's like, yo, man, he's like, before I took this job, they were telling me about you and all this. He's like, and it's all great and all that. He's like, give me the history. And I was running him down the history, and I got to that story. I was like, yeah, so dude, one time we were trading war stories, right? And I told him, I was like, and then one time in the Buzzard studio, this happened. He was like, what? Looked at me like I was crazy. And I realized, oh, this wasn't a systemic company problem. This was a problem with the manager I had. This was like, this was his issue. I gotta be honest with you, I'm not sure I'm the kind of guy that rocks that boat out of fear of not being able to, well, be here for you this morning. And that's why I never said nothing back in the day. I just thought that's the way it was. I didn't know any different. I just thought this is the way it was. But that's not the way it was. That's not the way it was most places. I was working for a lunatic. Another thing that shades my opinion here is when I was growing up, one of my first jobs was working for my best friend's dad, who was a maniac of a person. Could not be a better guy in a good mood. One of the worst people to be around when he was in a bad mood. Name calling, he'd throw wrenches at you from the third bay, all kind of stuff. And so a lot of times, man, I just feel like I don't give enough credit to certain issues because I feel like, all right. But like, just because I had been mistreated at a few places doesn't necessarily mean that's like, oh, I'll keep doing that to everybody. So I'll take Randy's point here, and I don't think he was really on me about it. I think he's just kind of pointing out that there is a way for these things to be a benefit for us and not always a detriment. And that's a good point for all of us to remember, and probably mostly me. That's fair enough. It does circle back to something I've said about social media from the beginning, which is when I saw how powerful it was, I was surprised they gave it to us. And that's kind of what I mean, because look how you can mobilize. Look how we can take things out of the dark. And to lean on another phrase you've probably heard your grandparents tell you, people don't talk like this anymore, but sunlight is the best disinfectant.
It's cool when you get up and you feel instantly connected to the world.
The Stansberry Show.
I don't know what it is.
I got him on every morning. On Rock 106.9.
Welcome back to the program. Everybody, March Madness obsessed. I get it. I was watching games all day yesterday. Watched that Akron game. Losing to Creighton, a little bit of a bummer there. That Enrique Freeman kid looks like he could be really, really good. I guess he was going to enter the draft, and then he kind of decided to come back to see if they could make a run at the tournament, and fell to Creighton yesterday. That kid looks really, really good. They were calling him Dennis Rodman on the TV on the broadcast when they were playing Kent, and I was like, that might be a little bit of an overstatement there, right? That might be a tad of an overstatement, but big guy, plays a lot of defense. I can understand how they got there. You know, good on the boards and all that, but it's kind of sad to see Akron go down yesterday to Creighton. All right, so much of the show this morning has been about problems in social media, and here we continue. There's a man now, I believe, out of Wales who is going to serve 66 weeks in jail. He will be the first person in that country jailed for cyber flashing. Nicholas Hawks is his name. He's 39 years old, and he's going to serve a sentence of 66 weeks after he targeted a woman and a teenage girl with pictures of an exposed penis. Now, when you hear teenage girl and you hear picture of exposed penis, you think 14 years old, right? I would too. I bring that up because this article and two others I read this morning don't tell me this young woman's age. So she could absolutely be 14 through 17, but if she's 18, it's not necessarily the minor thing there, right? But he's 39. He did plead guilty to 2 counts of sending a photograph or film of genitals to cause alarm, distress, or humiliation. And that was in court there. In October last year, an Online Safety Act was passed into law, making it a criminal offense to send unsolicited images of genitals. The cases are reviewed by prosecutors based on their impact on the victim, whether they are alarmed, distressed, or humiliated. They will also consider whether the person sending the photo did so to gain sexual